the smell of water and rotting wood emanating from the kitchen, the sound of Dad's television upstairs, our golden retriever, Tuck, in the entryway, frost on the windows and the dim light of 60-watt bulbs filling the interior. Lining up her thoughts before letting them all out in one rushed breath, I finally hear her exhale, slowly. There were two sides to this stretch of time. My personality is pretty resilient, but there was so much going on, my mom and dad getting cancer, Mickey dying, fighting for her kids. It was hard not to get down. The one positive in all of this was my pregnancy. We'd been married for 3 years, and your dad and I really wanted a baby. So we were leaning pretty heavily on the excitement of having our first kid. I listen on the other end of the line, knowing how the story ends, thinking about the crisis my birth must have been. The final surprise began on August 17th, around 6 in the morning. Sleeping in their old waterbed, my mom woke up in a puddle, her nightgown drenched. "Brian, I think the bed broke," she cried, shaking him awake. "Murray, I don't think it's the bed." 2 weeks before I was due, Mom's water had broken. An hour later, they were at the local hospital. Their doctor was on vacation, and Mom's parents were in Utah for cancer treatment. After 12 hours, Mom was still waiting for her first contractions, so the doctors decided to try and induce the birth. Loaded up on Pitocin, a drug that jump-started a series of painful contractions, Mom went into hard labor around 7 that night. 3 hours later, I still hadn't come out, and Dad began to get excited. "Hold on, a couple more hours and you'll have him on your birthday." Indeed, the hours inched along, and Mom's labor continued past the midnight mark. On August 18th, I was born. She turned 28, and I turned 0. I don't really like this bit. It's awkward asking my mom what those first few moments of having a legless kid were like. She must have wondered what kind of life her child would have. I can hear the tension in her voice as she tiptoes around the answer. "Kevin, you were an exclamation point on a really tough couple of years." The rest of the phone conversation comes between pauses, white noise between the side-out details. I could tell from the look on the nurses' faces that something was wrong. I hadn't heard you cry, so I started asking, "Is he crying? Is everything okay?" The doctor looked over at me and said, "He doesn't have any legs." So I told him, "That's not very funny." He said, "I'm not joking." Silence as she collects her thoughts. "The doctors handed you over after that. You were pretty tightly swaddled up in these white hospital blankets. The first thing I did was pull the end of the blanket out so that you looked long enough. It was a long process of us becoming comfortable with who you were. I don't think that I would know what to do if I was to become the father of someone with a disability. At the very least, I'd probably be ashamed and disappointed. Knowing that I'd react this way makes me feel guilty for what my parents had to go through. I'm not as strong as my parents, I think to myself." Mom pulls me out of the spiral. "I remember asking if stress could have caused this." The doctor smiled at me. "If stress caused this, there'd be babies without legs all over the place." After that, I can't remember what we asked out loud and what we thought inside. It all boiled down to one basic question, though. What could we have done to cause this? My parents felt that there had to be an explanation. Something like this couldn't just happen for no reason. In a way, knowing that a certain drug had been misused or that there was a problem during my birth would have been more comforting. At least then this accident would have a cause. The doctors sent off the placenta for testing. A panel in another state found the pregnancy to be normal and the placenta to be healthy. Mom didn't take or do anything that she shouldn't have. Dad raced home to ring his parents in Connecticut. They originally weren't going to come out for my birth, but once the information reached them about my lack of legs, Grandma and Grandpa hopped the next flight to Montana. My dad's parents met my mom's in the airport the next day. Already aware of the gravity of the situation, my grandma asked in a solemn tone, "So, how are things?" My mom's father laughed. "Everything's fine as long as you don't sling him over your shoulder, 'cause there's nothing there to grab." While the concern, apprehension, and fear were real, a bit of black humor helped to loosen the knot of tension. Everyone had his or her own crack. The doctors. He'll never be a professional basketball player, but that probably wasn't going to happen anyway. My dad. Hell of a birthday present. 23 years later, even I chime in. After all that labor, must have been like climbing 40 flights of stairs for half a chocolate bar. Soon after the tests returned, I was given a label. The doctors said it was bilateral amelia, and I asked what that meant, Mom said. It basically means no limbs. It's pretty simple. Treat him like a normal guy and he'll have a normal life, the doctor told her. Except normal life couldn't really begin yet, since the hospital held me for a week while I was placed under bright lights and tested to see what else could possibly be wrong. To top it off,